Hey everyone, welcome to This Prepared Life. I'm Allison, and in my last video we talked about food dehydration as a food preservation method and some of the advantages and disadvantages of that in your food storage. So if you missed that video, head down to the description. I'll have it linked there for you. And in today's video, we are going to talk about how to choose an electric dehydrator. So let's jump into that. So food dehydration is one of the oldest food preservation methods. It is also one of the easiest to jump into if you are a beginner. It does not require a lot of time or supplies, and a lot of it is hands off. So let's talk about some of the different things you might want to consider if you are going to purchase an electric dehydrator. And I have two of mine sitting out here. I have this round one and my Excalibur back here. And this one was actually my grandmother's, and I have had it 8 years now, 9 years now, and she had it for I don't even know how many years before then. And this one, my Excalibur, I have had this one, I think about going on 6 years now. And I'll talk a little bit about both of these and also some things that you can look for in a dehydrator for yourself. So the first thing that you are going to want to think about is space requirements. How much space do you have in your house? Now, these aren't considerably different in size, but this one is more compact. It goes higher. You can purchase additional trays for it. So that is something to think about. Where in your kitchen or in your house do you have space for a dehydrator that has access to an electrical outlet? Where in your house you put your dehydrator is important. A dehydrator, while it doesn't put out a lot of humidity, it does put out some humidity because it is removing the moisture from the food, and that moisture is going into your air. So that is something to think about. You may not want to put your food dehydrator next to your food storage if your food storage isn't protected from humidity. Where are you going to put it is important. Another thing to note about dehydrators is what you put in them usually makes the room smell like that item. So if you are dehydrating something like onions or garlic, I suggest putting it outside because it is very strong and smells the entire room, sometimes your entire house up. The first feature that you're going to want to look for in a dehydrator is the heat control, the temperature control. So a dehydrator should have a temperature range between 85 and 160 because different foods require different temperatures. If your dehydrator has a thermostat on it, that is a really good feature. There are some dehydrators that are just a heat element with no thermostat, and those do work, but you do have to monitor them a lot more frequently. So the next thing to think about is airflow. Airflow is incredibly important in dehydration. It helps speed up the process. And there are two types of fans in dehydrators that have a fan for airflow. There is a horizontal or vertical, and this type has a vertical. So let's go ahead and take a look. So you can see that this one, the fan is down below, so the heat is rising up and the airflow is rising up. All of the elements, the heat elements, and the airflow fan are below the food that you are putting in. I'm gonna go ahead and bring my Excalibur over here. So you can see this is not incredibly heavy. And you can see I have some herbs in here, but let's go ahead and take some of these out, and you can see the Excalibur has a horizontal fan. Both types of fans, vertical with the air rising up or horizontal with the air going out, work. Horizontal does work better because more of the food is exposed to the airflow. So dehydrators with a horizontal fan are going to be a little bit quicker and faster to get that food dehydrated than a dehydrator with a vertical fan. So far, space requirements, where are you going to put it? Heat control and airflow are the 4 points that we've talked about. I do have a couple more. The next thing to think about is, what do the trays look like? Are they easy to clean? Sometimes dehydrated food gets a little sticky. What is the airflow like on the trays that come with the dehydrator? And are they lightweight? So look at the size of the holes that the air and the heat are going to be going through. Look at if these are easy to clean, and are they going to make your dehydrator incredibly heavy to move around? So one thing to note about dehydrator trays, and this is, you don't have to do this, this is just what we choose to do here, is we have different trays for fruits and vegetables and meat. Our meat, any meat that we are dehydrating, making jerky or anything like that, always goes on our stainless steel trays. Fruits, vegetables, fruit leather, things like that only goes on these trays. And we just do that for cleanliness reasons, for cleaning, and just keeping meat separated from fruits and vegetables. The next thing to think about is ease of use for the dehydrator. Is it easy to take the lid off? Is it easy to open the door? This door comes right off. Some dehydrators have a door on hinges. The next thing to think about is, how sturdy is it? What does the cabinet look like? The cabinet in a dehydrator like this is this box. How easy is this to clean? And at the end of this video, I will go ahead and take all these trays of herbs out for you, and I will show you the inside of this dehydrator completely. So how sturdy is the cabinet? Is it made of a material that maybe is going to warp with the heat of dehydration? How good is it made? What quality is it? Is it food safe? Next is capacity. And this is how much food the dehydrator is going to hold. So for many, many years, I used this dehydrator, and I actually had one before this. And it's a really funny story. I'll share it with you sometime, maybe at the end of this video. But the one I had before this one actually didn't have thermostat or airflow. It was just heat that rose up. But I have had this one for many years. I used it and made do. This Excalibur was something I had always wanted, but we just, earlier on in our homesteading journey, we couldn't afford an Excalibur. So I used this primarily every garden season, and it worked just fine. You do not have to spend hundreds of dollars on a dehydrator to dehydrate food. This brand, I think, is American Harvest. Yes, it's an American Harvest, which I believe is Nesco now. And you can go down to your local farm store and grab one of these for, last time I looked at them, they were like $40. Do not quote me on that, because prices have changed so much over the past 3 or 4 years. But you can buy these at your local farm store. You can buy them online. They work just fine. But capacity is how much food are you going to be preserving by dehydration. So these have round trays, and you just put the food on. The Excalibur and other ones that are this similar style have these square trays. I can get a lot more capacity in my 9-tray Excalibur than I can in this one. But if this style of dehydrator is what you can afford, and often you can find these used at thrift stores, check your grandma's basement, these will work just fine. Capacity is the next thing to think about. And then another thing that I never thought I wanted or needed, but once I had it, I was like, oh, this is amazing, is a timer. This doesn't have a timer. It just runs until I unplug it. So I was always having to set myself a reminder or make a note, pre-phone time, make a note on my marker board or something of what time to check the food in here. My Excalibur does have a timer, and it is so incredibly nice to put some fruit leather in and set the timer for 4 hours and come back and know that it's not going to be overdone. I can check it, I can add more time if needed, or I can take it out if it's done. So a timer is an incredibly useful feature, but like I said, it is totally not needed. You can use these round style dehydrators quite effectively and dehydrate an enormous amount of food through a harvest season in them. So those are 9 factors to consider when you are purchasing an electric dehydrator. So let me share the story about my very first dehydrator, and it was a round one like this, but it was black and it had no airflow, no thermostat. You plugged it in and it turned on. That was it. I think it had maybe 5 or 6 trays to it. So just like this, just no features. And I used that dehydrator for many years before I got this one from my grandmother. Joe and I were on our way to Costco, and I remember telling him, I've been looking for a dehydrator. I really want a dehydrator. And I've been looking at, the thrift stores and the secondhand stores and just looking everywhere for a used dehydrator that would fit into our budget. Because 15 years ago, he had just graduated from college. We were poor students jumping into homesteading with what we had and learning all of these skills. So we did not have money to, spend on a really expensive dehydrator. And I said to him on the way to Costco, I'm like, I really want to find a dehydrator. Next thing I know, we're pulling into the Costco parking lot, and there's this garbage bag in the parking space next to us. And I'm like, Joe, is that a dehydrator? And he's like, I don't know. I don't even know if he knew what a dehydrator looked like at that point. So I'm like, I think that's a dehydrator. And I'm like peeking out the window. That's a dehydrator. And he is mortified as I get out of the car and I start looking in this garbage bag at this dehydrator. And I am so excited. And now, mind you, there was no other garbage in that bag. It was a bag with a dehydrator in it. And I am betting what happened is someone had too big of a Costco shopping trip and that dehydrator was headed to the thrift store and they left it in the parking lot instead. So my gain was my very first dehydrator, and I used that for so many years before I got this one, and it was a pain in the butt because it had no features, but I had a dehydrator and I dehydrated a lot of food with that free garbage Costco parking lot dehydrator that I did fully sanitize, by the way. Like that thing was scrubbed and sanitized so clean. So that is my funny story about our first dehydrator. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Do you have a dehydrator? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? Share in the comments so that other people who are looking for a dehydrator can make some choices. So I'm going to go ahead and show you more of the features on this Excalibur dehydrator right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So here is my Excalibur dehydrator next to this American Harvest dehydrator. Both of them have temperature control. This is just a spin dial. This one is electronic. So it has temperature up and down and then timer up and down and a start and a stop button. The door on this one is removable. Comes off just like that. So the trays just slide in and out, and these do come apart. They're really easy. You can see I have some sage. Actually, this is oregano. There's sage on the bottom. I'm just gonna dump that there so I can stack these without squishing everything. sage. So dehydrating herbs is a really easy way to get into dehydration. You can buy your herb plants and then dehydrate them and fill up jars, keep them in your pantry, and you have your own herbs that you no longer need to buy. So here's what the inside of that looks like. You can get a better picture of the fan, how easy this is to clean. I will typically vacuum out all the chunks and then I wipe it down when needed. But this really is only getting incredibly dirty when we do something super moist like jerky or something like that. So let's go ahead and take a look a little deeper at the American Harvest over here. So here's the American Harvest. Like I showed earlier, it has this lid that pops off and all of these trays just stack on top of each other. And you can buy extra trays to make this taller and get more capacity out of these round machines. Whereas with like the Excalibur, I can't make this any bigger. It is what it is. So this one has, like I showed you, this dial goes from meats, fruits, veggies, crafts, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices. So this one goes from 95 degrees to 145 degrees. And this doesn't come off. Some it does so that you can clean in here, but the heating element and the fan are all in here. And this has a little lip on it so that if I am dehydrating something super moist and it is dripping, this easily just wipes out. So that's my 2 dehydrators, the Excalibur and this American Harvest, which I believe is a Nesco now, and 9 things that you can do to choose your own dehydrator. Happy dehydrating. Hit that subscribe button if you want more homestead prepper content. Thanks for watching.